This is Virtual Verities podcast.
It's recording some bonus content to make up for lost time. I'm gonna try and keep these 10-minute explainers going on TikTok, YouTube, and maybe some other places. More sourced from articles I have on the blog. If you haven't checked it out, you can find it on themoloch.com or put in virtualveritypod.com. That seems to work sometimes. This one's going to be based on the first article that I published this year. It's about a mysterious threat actor in Iran against Iranians that just sort of disappeared after producing one of the largest data leaks in history. The snake pit that is InfoSec Twitter went a little nuts over this one for a few days. Oh, is he an agent of the West? Or was he working for Israel? I just, there's some interesting things about this story, but I don't know, I just figure you'd listen and decide for yourself. A January report by Hudson Rock researchers made waves as it outlined two data leaks published by a threat actor known as Irleaks. If the threat actor's claims were to be believed, it would have been one of the largest data breaches in history, causing the researchers to speculate that it could have been a coordinated operation conducted by a nation-state actor. On December 20th, Irleaks claimed to have stolen over 160 million records from 23 leading insurance companies in Iran. The data purportedly included personal details like names, birth dates, phone numbers, and national codes, effectively their equivalent of, as I understand, social security numbers or tax IDs. Subsequently, on December 30th, Irleaks also claimed a major cyber attack against SnapFood, Iran's largest food delivery platform, stealing 3 terabytes of data. This included sensitive information of 20 million users, including emails, passwords, and phone numbers, 51 million user addresses, the details of over 600,000 credit cards, and data from 180 million devices. For a little perspective, there are 87.9 million people in Iran as of 2021. That's PII on over half of the population. Or if you just want to count complete profiles, that's still nearly a quarter. The SnapFood breach was extensive, affecting various data types, including customer information, vendor records, payment information, device data, product order records, order details, details of bikers and riders that work for SnapFood, because if you haven't kind of put it together, it works similarly to Uber Eats or DoorDash, and other trip-related information, so the different routes to actually get to users' homes. This included IP addresses and GPS locations of the people who ordered with the app themselves. Researchers from Hudson Rock identified a potentially compromised employee of SnapFood, whose computer was infected with SteelC InfoStealer. This may have been the initial attack vector used against the company. The researchers believe these attacks might have been part of a coordinated operation, potentially conducted by a nation-state actor. Although the origin of the breach, as one might expect from an incident in Iran, it's still kind of unclear. On December 31st, SnapFood acknowledged the breach publicly and disclosed that Iran's cyber police, the FATA, I believe is the acronym, is actively working to identify the breach's source. On January 1st, Irleaks announced on their Telegram channel that SnapFood had come to the table and something had been negotiated between the two of them. Iran has rapidly improved its cyber capabilities. Years of engagement with adversaries like Israel and Saudi Arabia have only improved these capabilities. In 2013, Iran initiated the development of the National Information Network, the NIN, a domestic internet infrastructure aimed at being more secure from foreign cyber attacks and potentially disconnected from the global internet, similarly to China and to a lesser degree Russia. However, this doesn't necessarily trickle down to its private industries. It may not necessarily secure its networks from a threat based within the country itself. Regarding data leaks, though, this network allows the Iranian government to exert greater control over content and user data and could potentially introduce its own set of vulnerabilities. Regardless, a threat actor navigating this space would need to be familiar with the machinations of the NIN and how it might impact the security posture of a larger business like SnapFood. Internally, Iran's approach to monitoring, censoring, and controlling the internet has developed since the mid-1990s. There have been instances of internet censorship and systemic blocking of websites, especially during periods of political unrest. This was seen widely during the women's uprisings throughout 2022. It's generally wise to not take a cybercriminal at their word, especially when the purported magnitude of such a data leak was so unprecedented for a relatively unknown threat actor. Somebody who was not on many people's radar. Based on the available information and further research, several conclusions and speculations can be drawn about IR leaks and the legitimacy of their claims. Speaking to the legitimacy of the attack, the detailed nature of the data exposed and the sheer volume of it makes it harder to believe that it was all fake. And Hudson Rock researchers confirmed that the sample that they examined did appear to be genuine and not from earlier leaks, that it was legitimate. The specificity of the data stolen, as in the personal user information, credit card details, etc., is typically consistent with real data breaches and not somebody just slapping together old data that they found on the dark web. The breach was also publicly acknowledged by Snapfood themselves, and there's been a lack of counter evidence. So there are only a few articles on the topic, and none of them provide direct evidence or suggestions that the claims by Irleaks are false at all. In addition to Hudson Rock's findings, HackRead also has an insightful article on the topic. I'll try to link it. The absence of counterclaims or denials, especially from the affected organizations, adds credibility to the assertion, and Snapfood themselves did publicly acknowledge it. As of right now, I don't think any of the insurance companies have. So to hear the story this far, you'd think that Irleaks is a novel threat actor and these attacks came out of nowhere. However, while maintaining a relatively low profile, the individual or individuals going by Irleaks have been planning similar operations and perhaps conducting them while leaving less of a trail behind them since early 2022. The oldest channel that I could find on Telegram, which seems to be the threat actor's preferred mouthpiece outside of various breach forums, was started on 13th June 2022. There was nothing directly significant I could find on that date. However, there was a horrific accident at a chemical plant around that time, and there was a general climate of distrust and protest that I could find within Iranian Telegram space. However, there was no straight line or explicit relationship that I could establish. On July 10th, 2023, there were multiple insurance firms that were attacked in a similar way to the ones at the end of the year, and this was the first attack that Irleaks actually claimed after setting up the Telegram channel. So for perspective, that's over a year of silence on their most public channel. The statement originally translated from Persian: we sell name, surname, date of birth, father's name, phone and mobile numbers, birth certificate numbers, national codes, national company codes, and more here. Their next attack was weirdly out of character. It was a defacement against the Imam Khomeini Relief Foundation, allegedly an organization dedicated to assisting poor families. It just seems so out of sync with everything else that this threat actor did and what they were capable of. The defacement of the site was just a straight up blank page that said hacked by Irleaks and a link to their Telegram channel. And the simple statement on the Telegram channel that you could see at the time said that the website of Imam Relief Committee was hacked and defaced just to announce the existence of our team. Which is interesting because if previous records can be trusted, they had already committed a relatively serious data exfiltration against insurance companies. So this is just very bizarre. Then on August 9th and 10th, they claimed to have released 115 million personal records from insurance companies. Insurance companies are actually, Irleaks seems to be their target of choice. I wonder if that points to anything about who they might actually be. But yeah, in August, Irleaks went after Iran's insurance industry for a second time. Once again, they just kind of didn't make the news despite it being a relatively significant data leak. 3 weeks later, in September, they began advertising the entire customer database of Tapsi, a rideshare company. This one, they included a statement: Tapsi company has been hacked. We have the information of more than 27 million passengers, including a name, surname, mobile number, city, and sometimes their email address. Then the first one that kind of ended up on the radar, December 20th, 2023, they specifically posted it to breach forums. Irleaks claimed to possess personal data from a number of insurance companies relating to the Iranian army and the Revolutionary Guard Corps. This might be why this one made bigger ripples in the news. The post advertising the leak did not provide specific details like in the previous ones, but it indicated that the sources were from within the insurance industry once again. And then we come back to the December 30th data theft from the Grubhub-like Snapfood. There still isn't a great deal known about Irleaks. As it stands, they're clearly a very capable threat actor who have found their niche in the complex world of Iran's internet infrastructure. I think given the current geopolitical climate, it's tempting to jump to the conclusion that Irleaks is a state-backed, advanced persistent threat, simply yet to be named and shamed, and yet we certainly can't rule the possibility out. However, if one takes into consideration the year or more of time Irleaks may have had to prepare its particular attack vector, I think the idea of an independent actor remains viable. I think a final thing to note here as well is just think about the sheer volume of data that was captured by these citizens, not necessarily by the insurance companies, that makes some sense, but by a rideshare app and a food delivery app. It just kind of goes to show what these companies can actually put out there if there aren't legal restrictions put on their data collection and distribution policies. Or on the flip side, this might be what's required of them to be allowed to do business in Iran in the first place.
Greetings, citizens of the world.
This is Virtual Verity.
We are anonymous.
It has cameras and sensors.
It's a podcast.
But it turns out someone else may have been watching too.
And just like your phones and social media apps. And although it was a piece of malicious ransomware on the surface, the attack wasn't really about money.
We are Legion. We do not forgive.